I'm calling to order, this is Josh Garskoff. I'm calling to order the L&A Committee of the Fairfield RTM at 8:44 on June 16th, 2025. Karen, you know who's here, right?
Yes.
We do have a quorum, and we're going to start with the items that are referred to us, and we're going to start with the Historic District. And can you say your name, please?
Rosina, R-O-S-I-N-A, Negron, N-E-G-R-O-N.
Okay, Rosina Negron is here to talk with us about this. Are you presenting, or are you just here to answer questions, or?
I can briefly present.
Yeah, would you do a brief presentation? That would be great.
So the Historic District Commission will like to amend the Historic Properties Ordinance because there is one additional property that we would like to include as a locally designated historic property outside of the 3 historic districts. Currently, Fairfield has 10 locally designated historic properties outside of the district. This will be number 11. It is 515 Stilson Road, also known as the Caroline and Walker Sherwood House, which is a 2.5-story post and beam frame vernacular farmhouse with transitional Greek revival style elements. Basically, despite being surrounded by late 20th century development, this house retains the feeling of an early 19th century farmstead. The plan of the house demonstrates the evolution of the property from circa 1820 to today. The surrounding neighborhood has changed dramatically and will continue to change since this house was built as a farmstead. But the Sherwood House retains the integrity of the location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, and feeling. The Caroline and Walker Sherwood House is significant at the local level in the category of settlement, as it's one of the earliest vernacular style houses in the area and the last example in the original Stratfield district. This was a popular farming area for influential families such as the Buckleys, Wheelers, Golds, Jennings, Moorehouses, and Sherwoods, but became a primarily a residential neighborhood in the early 20th century. The Sherwood farm, however, remained operational until 1956 and was one of the 2 remaining farmsteads in the district. The Caroline and Walker Sherwood House is significant at the local level in the category of architecture as well, preserved example of a federal-style vernacular farmhouse. The house reflects an evolution of residential architectural styles, beginning with the federal-style main block and integrating the asymmetrical Italianate compound plan. As one of the earliest houses in the Fairfield Woods district, which also remains in its original location. It retains its integrity of design and settling, with many of its original features intact. The materials and the workmanship of early 18th century construction is present in the house. This house was placed in the historic State Register of Historic Properties in November 2021, so there's a significance overall. So
thank you. Any questions? I have one. So the owners, are they on board with this?
So the owner is the vice chairman of the Historic District Commission. She's an archaeologist and a preservationist, so she's pretty much completely on board.
Okay, and how does that work? Does the owner have to be on board?
Yes.
Okay.
To designate a property, the owner needs to be willing to have the property designated. So.
Okay, great. Any other questions for anybody?
Yeah, this is Len Raymond, District 8. Hey, how are you? So I know that there has been some development proposals and applications on Stilson Road and litigation as well. Would the designation of this property as historic have any impact on any of those pending applications or lawsuits?
In theory, no, because it's just this locally designated property. It's basically the owners are trying to protect the property itself. If, let's say, they sell it in 5 years and someone else wants to come in and demolish, they will have to go in front of the historic district because the house will be, in a way, protected by the rules and regulations of the district.
Is the property itself the subject of litigation, or
no,
or things around it?
Things around it.
Okay.
And who did you say owns the property again?
It's Dr. Darren Raymond Locke and her husband. She is an archaeologist and preservationist. She's working for the Mark Twain House. So.
Did you say she was on the board?
She is a vice chairman. Yes.
Is that can that happen? Like does
she basically recuses herself?
She does recuse herself. Yeah. Okay. I think so.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Donnie.
Oh yeah. So I saw that Ms. Raymond Locke or Dr. Raymond Locke was on the local historic property study report. Is that as the owner or the author?
She is both the owner and the author, I believe.
Okay. So she presented the property to the Historic District Commission, but she did not participate in the decision.
Correct. She recused herself for any decision that was made on her property.
Understood. Thank you.
Does it include the land as well as the house? Or is it just the structure that's protected?
It's basically the entire lot.
Oh, the lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, I think we can move on. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank
you. Sorry, I'm moving it all.
That's okay.
Okay.
So we also have ethics. Do we want to do that next before we get to the main agenda items? Ethics is before us. Are you presenting that, Karen?
I guess so, yes, I am.
Okay.
Are we not voting on the?
Would you like to take a vote on it now?
Yeah, we should.
All those in favor
We
of...
have to get a motion first.
I'll make a motion to vote on the 515 Stilson House historic designation.
To put it out to the full body, to move it along to the full
Yes,
body. Right?
to vote it out of the LNA.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, should we do ethics while we're still young? I mean, early.
Sure.
So I don't know. Do we need a presentation, or do people just want to ask questions? Or
Well, I know that you guys met. I've been out of pocket on this for the recent meetings you've had. So I guess, is there any kind of summary you can provide? I know I'm here as a sponsor, but the last time we met was last year, I think.
Yeah, it's been like
So a lot
year and a half.
happened then.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, and you've kind of gone through this already with your last group, is what has changed since then?
Yeah, so not a lot changed, but I took Ken Estorita's advice, and also Bill's office asked, and I got involved with the town's ethics policy. So I worked with them, and that's for employees of the town, and held off on doing this. And then once that was done, we looked through the ethics statute that we had done, pretty much what we saw like a year ago, and just made a few small changes. And probably the biggest one is that our ordinance will apply to elected and appointed officials, because employees are covered by the town.
They're already covered. Yeah.
So that was getting confusing to have employees.
Right. I agree.
So some things came out that were about employees, but otherwise.
Okay. And is that's an ordinance for the employees? Just a
policy.
A policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the historic property.
And there isn't any ordinance in place yet. I mean, this is
right. The only ordinance we have says that heads of departments and chairs of boards have to tell their bodies that they should read about ethics and be ethical. That's what we looked at.
So does this replace that, though? Does this?
No.
That would remain.
Yeah. I would think this will probably go in that section, but there's no reason to take that out.
Right.
And there is, so in the charter, there's standards of conduct, and we're redoing the charter, but I think we have to, I don't know if this will change, but one of my thoughts is that we could, because I know there's concern that the ordinance could supersede the charter and then become less strict about ethics. So anyway, we have to make that coordinate. But I think if we left the stuff in the charter and said nothing can ever be less strict than what's here now. You guys, you'll tell me what you want, but that's what, there was one concern about that. But yeah, so otherwise, it really was just really in response to things that happened a few years ago and how we realized there wasn't really a code of ethics. So Yeah.
Let's start with the committee first. Or are you presenting?
Well, Karen's presenting, I'm here as a sponsor.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Pertaining to something you just said. So I have been asked, because we are, titling it Chapter 21, that is it or is it not a whole replacement of what's in the town code?
Well, the only thing in the town code is a few things about telling your department that that there's the code.
So this is kind of an add-on,
yeah,
not necessarily taking that away and replacing it with all of this, because in here that language is also included.
Oh, is it? I forgot that we had that in there.
I'm gonna go through the
Okay.
and confirm that.
There's a section that talks about the distribution of this
Right.
Yes.
to all of the
Yeah.
Right.
appointed and elected.
I don't know if it says you have to say, because that's in the charter too, is that you have to, like when you have your organizational meeting at the RTM, the moderator has to remind people about ethics, I don't know. Either way, we'll have to make sure it's still in there. Whether I don't know if that particular direction is in that.
I'm going to compare the two.
Okay.
If the language is not the same, it would not be a replacement so much. It's just an expansion of.
Right.
Well, we would want to pin that down before voting on it at the RTM, right?
So all you'd be looking for is whether this, and I'll look for it now too, whether this ordinance also says that the head of any board has to remind people that they have to, tell people to be ethical.
And so Karen, did you, so there is no mention of municipal employee in here?
Right.
Because that's covered in the policy.
Right.
So that's completely taken out. And just remind me, is public official defined here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought of that tonight when I was looking at it, because we've been going through that with the charters, how to define
Right.
public official.
So I've heard some say that, we RTM members, not even like elected officials, we're just elected representatives. So I don't know if we are even public officials, and if the definitions are kind of gray and what we really are versus other elected officials, that might be worth defining clearly.
The town council did review this, but I don't know if he specifically asked about that, so let me make a note about that. Oh, actually, that was one of my first
That's
notes.
9M, by the way.
Thank you. Is about the town official?
Yes, the meaning of a public official.
9M and
Yeah. So it's actually in the backup, Jeff, it's page 3.
yeah, I'm on 3 here. Okay, hold on a second.
And then
There's like a typographical issue with the lettering.
Oh, really? Okay.
Commission.
Do we want to just go through?
and Karen, 2110 was the other one we talked about. Chairs of boards and commissions.
Oh, okay. It does say that already? Okay, thank you. So it will replace the existing one.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong backup here.
Are we included in that, like board, commission, authority, or a meeting?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We may have to create another word for us.
We went through this with a charter, and I think we're not included, so I have to check with your peers. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm grabbing the packet. So am I hearing people want to go through this line by line?
We're a board, right?
I
Boards
mean,
and
we're not really a
commissions.
board.
That's how
We're a collective body. I don't even know how to label us other than.
well, I guess we'll ask. I mean, it looks like we're a board.
Yeah, in the charter, it didn't include us. I don't know, it's weird, but I can ask Phil.
Is the charter there?
No,
I don't know.
What page is this on? Do you know what page is on in the backup?
Yeah.
Of the definition, let's see, yeah, give me a second.
57.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For some reason, my little.
What's his?
Oh, that's the charter, okay.
Okay, so am I hearing that this group would like to go through the ethics, proposed ethics ordinance page by page here? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or at least paragraph by paragraph.
Maybe paragraph by paragraph, and if anything.
Okay. Do you want me to call it out, or Karen, do you want to walk us through it?
Yes, I'm just trying to open it. I'm sorry, I had it open.
Yeah.
So,
the piece. Can I just say I had one question? So if I read this properly, and I'm not a lawyer, but I think I've seen, I don't want to mention any individuals, but I've seen people leave elected posts in this town and then serve a client and present to that same elected body. And I think the restriction here is for a year.
Yes.
But they can't do that for a year. And I was curious, like, why 1 year?
I think that's what the state law is. It's 1 year, I think. So it's, you know, they have to kind of have a break from that influence they had before they can use it.
You can't tell them they can never do it. That would be unfair, I suppose.
I mean, I guess you could, but seems like it would be unfair because some of those people maybe that's how they make their living, perhaps.
Right, but and I'm just talking it out here, but like if that is how somebody makes their living, then why would they be on that body? Like they shouldn't be on that body. If someone is a zoning attorney, should they be on the zoning board?
I can speak to that.
Yeah, you can. You sure can.
So, for example, the city of Norwalk has a similar, if not the same, limitation. You can serve, and I have a colleague who served chair of the Newark Planning and Zoning Commission, and then 1 year, after 1 year thereafter, he was able to appear before that commission. It may very well be state statute or suggested or consistent with state statute. So the town of Fairfield has not had such a restriction. That being said, I didn't appear before the PNC. I don't think within that year in any event. But I think that it can be a risk when you have a rule that you can discourage people from participating in boards and commissions because it limit their employment opportunities and their ability to represent clients after they've left the board or commission. However, if you have a year waiting period and not longer, then I think that's a reasonable, middle ground or compromise.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true. And I have colleagues who have served in their field in their town, and then they just never, like it's a town they know the firm is not going to do any of that, say town and planning and zoning or something. So they don't do anything in that town as a lawyer, but they serve on the commission.
This rule wouldn't impact them then, right?
Well, I guess it would if then a year later they left and a year later they started to do it. So I'm hearing you. So the year, it's like if you just banned it altogether and you're not going to get anyone who's got the expertise to join it. And if you don't have any limitation at all, then somebody could leave 1 month and represent the next month. Right.
Okay. And a related question: how would this apply? For example, we have a town attorney who was an RTM member. Obviously, there was more than a year in between. But would the same rule apply that somebody couldn't leave the RTM and become town attorney? That would also be a similar case? That
seems less direct, I would think, like less of a direct.
Yeah. You have to
figure out for working for the municipality, though. Representing, like, you can leave and represent the municipality. So I think that would be okay.
I see, because you're actually working for the town and sort of presenting a case to the town.
Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue.
I see. Thank you.
As far as I read it.
Yeah, I think it goes to the word appear, right? So if you look at 1-6A, right, no former public official shall appear before any municipal board or agency. So that really speaks to the issue of somebody serving on a board or commission and then stepping down and then appearing before that same board or commission. Zoning is a good example.
But I mean, wouldn't the town attorney appear before the Board of Selectmen or the RTM on occasion?
Yeah, I think that to Jeff's point, he or she is acting on behalf of the town. They're not appearing for the town on behalf of another client, a third party.
Right. Yep.
It's basically you can't work against us for a year. You got to work with us.
Yeah.
What page is this on?
Yeah, what section?
Because I think it's important for us to see exactly how the language is laid out.
Well, yeah, I was jumping the gun here. Let's go ahead and go through it.
Especially because in this instance, I'm curious. There are 3 things that now you've raised, and now I want to talk about them, even though I just said we shouldn't. The first one is I'm imagining that some of the time might have to do with the fact that if you were serving with a bunch of people who now knew you and you knew them.
Right.
But if the more time that goes by, people.
A year is not enough.
I mean, depending on what the year is, but people, and RTM in particular, I mean, less so with like TPE and stuff, our terms are only 2 years, and so, if there's an opportunity that people might not be there. But I'm curious, too, about appearance. What if it is, for example, somebody that is, I'm assuming that's only if they're there in a professional capacity versus I'm a citizen of Fairfield. Right. And I'm here at public comment.
Right.
And I am
my neighborhood
in support of or opposing the thing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it does not cover that.
You're correct, Michelle. The text, the 21-6A says, other than for himself or herself.
Oh, right.
Here for yourself. If you have if you were on the Zoning Board of Appeals and you need a variance for your own house, you can go before the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So shall we go through it? Karen, do you want to lead us through it?
Sure. Okay. Statement of purpose. I don't know if anyone had any issue with that, right? Okay. Definitions. I'll just, we can just scroll through them if anyone has a comment or question on.
I think starting on page 2,
okay.
And Lenny might have, or someone might have referred to it. In here, we start to see some inconsistencies with your numbering and stuff.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you look under G for gifts, you have a 1 in parentheses, and everything under it is the number with a period.
Everything under it. I mean, all the other ones are.
Yeah, you put the 1 in a parentheses, but none of the other numbers are, except for then 7 and 8.
Oh, that's weird. I have, is that what you mean? Like they?
Yeah, mine don't look like that.
Okay.
Yeah, mine don't look like that.
Okay.
I have a question, and this, again, I'm not an attorney. So are the gift section, is this inclusive list? Like, in other words, I think I'm seeing, is any one of these things constitute a gift? I was a little unclear of what we're saying here.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So G is defining what a gift is, right? And then the numbers underneath it are
exceptions.
Yeah. Exceptions, but are they inclusive? Like I thought I saw, and again, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought I saw different dollar amounts.
Let's see.
There's a $250 limit, but somewhere else there's $20 equaling up to $100 over the course of a year or something like that.
Yeah, they're different things. So if it's the context of a celebration of a major life event or something, then it's $250. And personal gifts are $25. But let's see, anything.
Where did these numbers come from?
I can't remember if they were in. We used several other ordinances in other towns, and I can't remember if that was where we got it. And we can change the numbers. I mean,
yeah, I'm just spitballing here. Like, why would a gift for a special event be different than a gift for a not special event?
It's weird.
I think
everything just no gifts for any event, for any.
Yeah, why?
Nothing.
Right. If my kid graduates, why does that mean?
Why describe the event? Yeah.
Why should I get a bigger gift in that case? Then, in any case, the conflict is the conflict, right?
Well, this is a common provision in ethics rules throughout the state because I think the idea is that if you have a friend who's not in government and there's a special occasion such as a wedding, right, then there's less of a risk that the gift is going to be perceived by the public as a bribe because the person is actually getting married, right?
Right.
I see. So
it reduces the amount that's acceptable under the ethics rules increases because the likelihood that the gift is legitimate and not to try to obtain official favor is greater.
Mhm.
And it's still a low limit where it's not like you're buying them a Mercedes or something like that. It's still, yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Thanks, buddy.
That's well explained. Thank you.
I had a question about number 5. It's going to sound picayune, but as an organization that tends to buy plaques for people, and they can sometimes be pricey, but it's not like it's a solid gold plaque. I'm wondering if we, and again, you may be taking language that everyone uses, and it is really not that big a deal.
And I have no idea what a plaque costs.
And also, if you think about, like, then they're going to be, like, asking the like, how much did the plaque cost that you made me to award my thing? Like,
no one's going to melt it down and sell it.
Exactly. I almost want to say, like, that is worth more than like $200 or something, because none of them are even none of them would be worth that. It could even cost $200 to make it, but it's not going to be worth $200. You're not going to be able to sell,
I think that item could even be taken out. I mean, it's almost like.
Well, I mean, if you gave them like a diamond encrusted, who's going to do that, right? Oh, let me give the moderator a diamond encrusted plaque.
Yes. Well, then she'll call me first every time.
Have my name on it, yes.
I'm thinking of the gold
I buy it.
Godfather too.
It would be nice to get, right?
So we could change it to worth.
Yeah, like worth
more than 200.
More than 200 or something.
Wait, but it says less than now.
It said it costs less.
Yeah.
So I'm just. What do they cost? I don't know. I'd have to ask.
No, but I'm saying less than or more than.
I'm saying that if you say change instead of costing.
Yeah.
In which case you have to ask the.
I understand that, but I'm saying is it less than or more than?
Worth.
It would be less than, because it's
less than. That's my point.
Right.
I would say a ceremonial award worth more than.
Worth less
than.
I know that. No.
Because these are the exceptions.
It's an exception.
Oh, right.
That's what
Sorry.
I was going to say.
It's for 200, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, fine.
Right.
It's solely material, but fine, it's covered.
Okay.
Anything else?
Unless it's a historic building, then they can spend $300. No, I'm kidding.
That seems appropriate.
Anything else on that page?
No.
Go to the next
one.
Anyway. Number 20, 21.
I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that really annoys the living hell out of me is going to a restaurant and somebody trying to pay for my lunch. I would love for something to be like to include that in it so that I could just say it's illegal. I do, but I have to fight with some people. Can we just
talk to Kathleen, because that's got to be an employee thing probably, because you're.
Look, I think it's covered by G. A gift means anything of value, including entertainment, food, beverage, right? If it's less than $20, then it's de minimis. Otherwise, it's not permitted.
Yeah. But you can say,
if it's less than $20, I would still like to be able to say it's illegal.
Yeah, say.
And you can go to jail for even offering that.
Matter of fact, I'm calling the cops right now.
You can basically say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are lunches under $20. They do exist.
Yeah, and you're allowed as a lobbyist to buy, like.
Okay.
But you just don't.
Is that what it is? It's $20 here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably an awkward thing to have to tell someone, but,
Yeah, no, it's always a fight because some of these guys come from, other countries where that's what they,
right.
Expected.
You always buy,
yeah.
And they're.
And it's not polite or it's dishonoring them.
Vote.
That's true.
And I fight with them. No, not that I won't come back. It's really.
So, I mean, should we put in a provision saying that, you can't buy lunch for a.
I think it's better for Bill just to.
Like you go to a Greek restaurant.
Just to exaggerate the cost.
I can never do that. Yeah. I think, leaving a little leeway is probably safer. Okay. Like, I'll pay this time, you pay next time. You don't have to worry.
I'm all for you embellishing.
So then what do we want to do on that?
I think we're good, right?
Yeah. I was wondering, and on the next page, I think, I'm on like 9 is the first number on my version, and then it's immediate family. We're still in the definitions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As I got further down, and there was all this, the rules around a matter, and like someone can't be involved in a matter, or if they were involved in a matter, and I was thinking, I really wish there was a definition of a matter, because I could see someone being like, well, I don't think that was a matter, and it's like, no, that was a matter, and then, you know what I mean?
Matter and find matter.
What's the matter?
Boy, that's a lawyer joke right there.
That is
Yeah.
great.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, definition of that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we also want to put in there, and maybe it's even before in that first paragraph, something about the state ethics laws, like this is a substitute or supplemental to, or?
Are there state ethics laws that apply to municipal elected officials, or just?
Well, there's a Connecticut statute where it says 9-601A.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it interact with state law? And maybe it doesn't have to, I'm not sure. But I'm just wondering if we need to mention anything about Connecticut statutes.
I think
this
this is about elections, 9601A. Campaign financing.
Does it supplement or preempt state law enforcement?
Well, I don't know if there's any law
Well, there's got to be a state ethics
that applies to
that applies
municipal.
to municipalities.
I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, maybe not.
And Phil Pierce reviewed it, so I think.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Public official, we already talked about. You're gonna look into whether the RTM is a public official and whether we need to add something there.
Yeah. The alphabetical is messed up on our version anyway. It goes LMMM.
Yeah, we have 2 H's.
And so that has to be fixed, at least on the one that we have. The first one that I'm seeing in the document, but this is true for much of the document, I think that we need to change the language to gender neutral pronouns.
Oh, yeah.
And it's every,
Okay.
So,
I know that was done. I feel like.
Wait, are you saying not his or her, but their?
yeah.
Okay.
They, them, their. Yeah. It's also grammatically more elegant, frankly, than lots of list of them, but also respectful.
Gotcha.
All the years I taught writing for 4 years in UConn Law School, and I was always correcting that, where people would do the multiple tense instead of him or her, but everything's different now. Okay.
So just doing a scan through the document. I have a list, but I'm sure you just look through.
Yeah.
Just do a find and replace.
I mean, we have a lot of, we do a lot of himself or herself or
Yeah,
her
you're gonna
or
have to look
him.
carefully.
Mm-hmm. And then some of them is like one of them is just a him.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're suggesting them.
yeah,
Okay.
Are you suggesting making them plural or keeping them singular?
it makes sense when you read each individual one. What makes sense to put in it? I mean, it is all technically plural.
Yeah.
Them, theirs, themselves.
So you would change it to plural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like this first one, remember, I'm on the second M on page 3, I think. Any business in which a public official or member of their immediate family is a director, blah, 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 or more managing member, blah, that a public official or member of their immediate family shall not be deemed, blah, 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 member of their immediate family.
Yeah, it doesn't really change anything.
No, it doesn't change anything. And honestly, I don't think it's any less, I don't know, I'm not a grammar expert, but if you look through, you'll just see where it can be substituted.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, are we moving on? Are we done with the M's here?
Anything else on 3? And go to 4.
So does 3 really go through the procedure? Sure. Just want to make sure.
The procedure
for enforcement.
Most of that is in the charter, the Ethics Commission details.
So I print out, like on the website, just the Ethics Commission here. It doesn't really give much. Is there more in the charter than this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said pursuant to the terms of the charter. Okay. So we're on 4 now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was anything going on for Juneteenth in town?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, at the library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here's that no former public officials to represent anyone other than the town.
Right, that's right. Got it.
Yeah.
So we're basically saying we want a non-compete that's similar to the private sector.
Not non-compete. Well, I guess
Essentially
yeah,
it
I guess
is.
it is.
Like,
kind of, sort of.
Private sector non, yeah.
I think this is also where this definition of the matter is going to matter.
Yeah.
In which
because it may be limited to the matter that people have to not be engaged, but it could be broader, like it's something different.
So, like, could somebody who was on this attorney used to be on the zoning board, could they represent somebody in, in a non-zoning case?
Or if it's a new zoning case that has never been seen by zoning before, i.e. a new matter, therefore, because they never considered it while they were
but that doesn't address the whole issue of, like, you just sat on this board and your peers are...
I mean, I'm not suggesting that this is changing other things that are already in here, but I know that there's some specifics around matters that were confusing to me that made me think, well, it may be that, for example, a matter might be something that even in a year you're not allowed to engage with, but then what are the boundaries of that matter?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the matter could be helpful, but the classic example is obviously if you're on commission or board and you make a decision to grant like a zoning permit, for example, and then you come back years later and you say, well, I was on the zoning commission when we decided this, and I think we should vary it or make this exception to it in this way. But there are exceptions to that.
Well, you said years later, so they could do it years later.
But I think what Michelle's saying, there should be a different thing. Generally coming back to your commission is a year, but coming back to your commission for a matter that you heard, maybe that's a longer prohibition. Is that what you're saying?
And also what does matter mean in that, like, one could broad brush it,
right?
Or one could be very specific and give a list of this is what qualifies as a matter.
But I could be on a board on a zoning board that's considering a big project. I quit the board. I go work for the developer who's proposing that project, and 13 months later, perhaps it's still not okay. If I was hearing that particular project to be now a proponent of it.
This is actually in here. That
it is.
Yeah. Page, page 6.
I have no page numbers.
Yeah, it's 21-6B.
Okay. B.
no former public official shall represent anyone other than the town concerning any matter in which he participates
Perfect.
personally.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I can't, I have B here. There's two B's here. Oh, the first B?
Yeah, the first B.
I wonder if my mind is all clean out.
No formal public shall represent anyone other than town concerning any matter in which he participates personally and substantially while in municipal service.
Yeah, I think that's what you guys are talking about. And there's also an attorney ethics rule in the case of an attorney. State law provides that an attorney who, for example, served as a judge and decided a particular case can't then go into private practice and act on behalf of one of the parties in that case.
Right. It's definitely a conflict of interest. Yeah.
But here we're talking about just for a year.
No, in this one, it's permanently. The 1 year is the prior one where they can't appear before the board or agency they were on for 1 year.
Okay, I think it's the way this is presented because it looks like it's a subset of A. That's why I was looking at this. This says 1 year, and yet this is.
Those are not a subset. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you.
No. Is the wrong thing in the backup? I don't know.
The formatting is messy in the
I think
backup.
it's formatting, not because Liz, you sent one that Phil had looked at, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's the right one.
Can you send Betsy and I an email and ask for a better formatted version? There was something with the assessor's report, the formatting was all off about all the way during audit.
Oh.
And he sent it to me, and so then Betsy kind of did the backups with the good formatting of the assessor's report, so it wouldn't be over 100 pages. And then it cut out the police report, and then it was just messed up, so.
Okay. So why is Betsy doing any form of formatting?
She doesn't. I don't know. There was something. The tax assessors wasn't formatted. That was Ross's mix-up. He sent the wrong type of file. But then when she did it again, I think somehow the police thing got knocked out. So I don't know if it affected the form. I don't really understand how all the ins and outs of that work.
Something being converted to a PDF.
Yeah.
To be done in some certain format.
So if it's not coming out the same, if you guys could just someone could send me an email with Betsy and a copy.
Okay. That sounds good. Okay, thanks. So what are we on now? Are we on 4 still, or did we finish that?
So right, I think the matter thing is important because if someone is involved in a vote on an item, they voted on approval of whatever, they then can't represent another party for a year, or we're saying forever on an issue that had to do with that one vote.
It says no paid consultant or contractor. So let's use Karen as an example.
Participated personally and substantially.
21-5, I think.
May represent anyone other than the town concerning any matter in which they participate personally.
No, where is
But it says as a consultant or a contractor.
What section is this?
This is 21-5. Okay, so that's not relevant to us anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 21-6B, the first B.
Yeah.
But actually, on 21-5, there's no enforcement mechanism. In other words, there is punishment, quote unquote, for public officials who violate this, but there's no like anything handed down for a contractor who does that.
Well,
the town taken away, or?
The town, I would imagine that the town could pursue legal action. Think of it so it says no paid consultant or contractor may represent anyone other than the town concerning any matter in which they participated personally and substantially as a consultant or a contractor to the town. So it would be like if the town hires Phil and he participated in some sort of real estate transaction for the town, and then he stops working for the town. He can continue to represent the town, but he can't represent like the other party.
Party to the transaction.
Yeah. So it looks
ever or for a year, we're saying?
Ever.
It says with the matter, any matter in which they participated personally and substantially as a consultant or a contractor to the town.
What does personally mean?
They themselves.
Yeah, but does it add anything to the sentence?
Yeah.
It makes it seem like it's personal.
Like, you work for KPMG.
Oh.
Right.
You're one of 50 people.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the same language as in the ethics rule for attorneys.
Okay. I guess we shouldn't rewrite that.
1.12.
So what I think in terms of your question, Jeff, I would think the town has grounds to protest and demand that whoever it is recused. So like to your point, let's say the town hired, what is it,
KPMG?
Yes, K-pop. And you worked for this group, like you had a group of consultants that worked on a project with you, and then one of them appears in something else, not working for Fairfield, and you'd be like, no, I remember that guy. He worked on our thing. He shouldn't be on this project or something. I assume that, and you have grounds based on our ethics rule to tell them this person can't work on this, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're enforced, like, how can that be enforced and communicated?
Well, the town has to not retain them, right?
Okay, town can't retain
them. So the person who retained them would really be the one who would get folded, I think, if they should know they're not supposed to use
them.
Or they would lose the business. Like, like maybe if, let's say, the town entered into a contract, and then this person appears, and the town's like, forget it, I'm not interested in, and it violates our ethics rules. Presumably, the town has grounds to say, we're canceling the contract, we're not working for you. Our ethics tells us we can't.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that should be in.
Are they disqualified for future work
document?
It says a matter, and that's why.
This should be in the bid doc. So if they're going out to bid,
would they then be disqualified from doing any future work?
I guess.
Contractor. Like, what would be their kind of punishment? They just lose that business.
I think they just lose that business.
Yeah. We can't.
Can I raise a question with 21-5 that we haven't discussed yet? If you're done with subsection 2.
That's what we've been.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So subsection 1, or the first one, is that no paid consultant shall do anything that's in conflict with their duties for the town. So there are a lot of consultants that do work for the town, such as on traffic or the environment, that also do work for private clients. So I would perhaps want to clarify what it means for that to conflict, for their duties to a private client to conflict with their duties to the town.
Let's see. Well, it must be, I mean, implicit, I think, is that it would be a conflict as to that private interest and that action or proceeding.
Well, their duties, yeah.
So isn't that pretty specific, or?
Well, I guess.
Sorry, go ahead, Lenny.
I mean, I guess that you could have a conflict between your duties in the sense of your time commitments, right, and sort of plain language sense of it, rather than, there being an actual conflict of interest as a term of, as a defined term, which there is no definition of conflict. I'm not necessarily sure that there needs to be a definition of a conflict, but I would be concerned about people taking that sentence out of context.
Yeah.
There's no definition of a conflict in this whole document?
There's conflict of interest, but not conflict.
Yes.
So maybe if we said direct conflict of interest, maybe, would that? Trying to think of how to fix that.
Yeah, I ask you, who is this clause directed to?
That's what everyone was saying. I think it would be a town person.
But a town person
Is it just
signing up to a consultant, not doing something like taking responsibility for a consultant?
I think you would probably give this to any paid consultant or contractor of the town.
It should be in the bid docs or something. Like,
well, but
when you sign up, when you're submitting it, you are attesting to the fact that you have never XYZ.
Because it's in our code of ethics.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we're putting it here, and then you would, and in fact, I think it says in here that this is supposed to accompany RFPs.
I think so.
It says it on, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
21-13 request for proposals. This ordinance shall be included as an exhibit and incorporated by reference in all requests for proposals issued to the town.
Yeah.
So basically, they're putting this in front of any paid consultant and saying, none of this can apply to you if you are applying for this RFP.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this says that representing a private interest in any action or proceedings against the interest of the town. That is in conflict.
Yeah.
So with the performance of their duties to the town. So it seems pretty, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems a little specific, like in a good way to me, that it's like if you're a town, if you're coming here to do like town planning as a consultant, and then you're also in some matter, maybe you're a planner on a developer team that you're, you know, fighting against in court or something, then that person is working on one project against Fairfield and one project for Fairfield, so they shouldn't be doing either. Or pick one.
Right.
There isn't a definition of what a conflict of interest is. There's a section on conflict of interest, 21-4, but I don't think it's clear whether that sentence is prohibiting the consultant from just having any conflicts of interest as defined by section 21-4, or whether it's broader or narrower than that. It also refers to, an action as opposed to a matter.
Yeah, an action or a proceeding against the interest of the town.
So I could see somebody, like you said, Michelle, I could see somebody arguing that is narrower than a matter. And I could also see somebody arguing that a conflict is brought, with their official duties, is broader than a conflict of interest.
It's not official duties, though. It's consultant or contractor duties. It's not referring to public officials. It's referring to them doing other consultant or contract work. So it wouldn't apply to somebody sitting on a commission or something.
Yes, sorry. I was using official duties as a shorthand for such consultant or contractor's duties to the town of Fairfield.
We must have something that covers quid pro quo, sort of on a commission, so that you're not voting like the siting council, the Connecticut Siting Council. All those guys leave and go work for utilities. Is there anything that's sort of in there that makes, like the federal government, you can't be a lobbyist for?
Well, we said you can't come before the board that you were on for at least 1 year after you leave, but that's a little different. But that could be against the town, I guess. You could be.
Yeah.
Can we?
How about you can't go work for?
I'd like to move us along here. It's getting late. What do you want to do? I mean, I'm curious. Is this helpful to you, Karen? This feedback?
I think so, and I'm wondering if, because I know we'd love to have this on the calendar for July to vote, and I'm wondering if I made changes to respond to this, if we could do another LNA meeting before, in the next couple of weeks, even if it's quick online or something, to approve this, or we could approve it with changes, but some of it is going to involve drafting like a definition of matter.
And why do you want to do it in July?
Because then you have July, August. I guess, I don't know, I guess.
There's time to do it still, though, you know.
Yeah, what'd you say?
You could do it with more
Yeah.
days, just because you want it done before this term.
Yeah.
Right, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So but we should have some cushions with that.
There is cushion for that.
Yeah, there is, that's true.
I'd rather, if you don't rush it through here, and then it's in a better form
Yeah,
to us, then there'd be less.
that's a good point. So we could do it again in the July meeting, maybe. But could we finish?
Yeah, let's do it. But can we move past this section? I think we.
Len, is there any language that you're suggesting? Because otherwise, to me, it's pretty clear. But you know, you can send it to me, I guess.
I can go offline if I think of anything. Thanks.
Okay.
Did I just hear you volunteer to help her with the?
Yeah,
project?
I'll just send it to you. You can fix everything, okay?
That's what happens when you're not here in person.
21-6. What do people have here?
I think,
We talked about this one a bit already, right?
Yeah.
Just, hold on. Confidential information, can we define what that is?
Which one is that in? Down there.
It's on the
I think
second
we
page,
did.
21-6, second B, no
It is
former
defined.
public disclosure is
Is it defined at the top?
Yeah,
Is it?
page
Is it?
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Information, two. Yeah.
Confidential information.
It's hot in here still.
It's a little better with the door open.
Yeah.
By reasons of,
Colder on this one.
Oh, really?
Because we're in heated ethics discussions on this end.
What's an example of something? I mean, LNA used to meet with the town attorney to
Which
talk
one
about
are you looking at?
definition of confidential information. I mean, the only thing that I think even LNA, because LNA would only be privy to confidential information, would be the only group within the RTM. And that was any pending law cases or lawsuits or.
But
what else?
other bodies have executive sessions.
Right, this applies to.
Yeah,
And they're-
to everyone. Yeah, I keep thinking just RTM only here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're the executive session.
Yeah, and they're talking about labor contracts.
Sure, that's true.
Yeah.
I was curious about. Do you have something else, Jeff?
No, I think okay, that's fine.
I'm looking at the third item, which is D on mine, but 25,000. Is that one of these like industry standard numbers? Is that where that came from?
Where are you, John?
I'm looking at the under 21.6. It's the fourth item. I'm sorry, it's the fourth item, D. No former public officials will participate substantially in the negotiation or award of a municipal contract obliging the town to pay $25,000 or more, or supervise the negotiation or award of such contract shall accept employment with a party to the contract other than municipality for a year. Is that standard industry language?
I can't recall, but I think we probably took it from another town's ethics code, but I don't remember where we got that number.
Yeah, I'm just curious why 25,000 is the number.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it should be substantial enough that you could imagine it influenced the.
Is that substantial enough?
I don't know.
I feel like it could be bought for $25,000.
You're for sale for 25,000? Is that what you said?
I would say it's
Yeah.
the floor.
Yeah.
Sure.
So someone who's involved in that contract can't then leave and work for that company, even if in their duties it has nothing to do with the town affairs.
Yeah, like you're on a board and you hire a consultant, and then that consultant offers you a job. You can't take that job for a year if that contract was 25,000 or more.
Because maybe you.
Well, no, but only for that contract.
Yeah.
I think that's really restrictive.
No, it's
only
not.
for that
It says that when you'd have to participate in the negotiation or award of a contract
Yeah.
or supervised it.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you voted, whether Board of Finance or RTM or whatever, you vote on that, that bonding of money for a particular contract, and then, 6 months later, that company, you leave Board of Finance and you go work for that company, you can't actually take
I've been
a
on this
job.
body for 18 years. I've never been offered a job.
I know.
For 1 year, but that makes sense. I mean, think about what the public would say. Let's say the RTM voted on some massive expense for the town, like that made a ton of money for
Well,
some,
let's just say 25,000.
or 25,000, which some people think is a lot and others don't. But the public, and then you leave the RTM, and go work for them, they're going to be like, oh, good job. You set up this massive freaking deal for this company, and the town's paying them all this money, and now you're going to go work for them, and people will look askance.
Does it have to be a successful vote? In other words, what if it was defeated? I mean, you were still involved in it, voted on it.
You got, if they got, if they paid an amount of
obliging the town. So because they could say, hey, Jeff, if you vote for this, I'll get you a job.
I understand.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily say that, but that happens all the time.
Yeah,
in reality, not we're going to give you a job if you vote for it, but
you're supporting.
We love working with you.
Okay. I think that's like pretty standard.
Do you have a problem with it?
I would think so. I mean, keeping in mind
too, but in the scheme of contracts, it's not, right? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have any knowledge of what the number should be, but I think it's just like that's such a small contract for a big company. Are they really going to hire somebody with that much money?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. But I mean, if that's like an industry standard, or if that's what you're seeing in other towns, I don't have an issue with it.
It probably was from another town. I just can't remember.
I will also add that if I were to get picky, I could say as one member of a 40-member body of RTM, I don't consider that substantial. I mean, and especially something that, like, if you were the one vote that put it over the edge, sure. But, like, if you were one vote and it was unanimous or like very clearly in favor, you could argue, I think, and probably successfully
against this,
to say, yes, I was involved in this vote, but it wasn't substantial, whatever. I think that I agree. If people tried hard enough,
worth putting something to define what you said, though, to create, because I mean that makes sense. I mean, what you guys talked about, I get that, but if it is 40-0 or 30-10.
Well, it says participated substantially.
Or
supervised negotiations.
RTMs are not. Well, I mean, everything's gray.
This would probably apply more to the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance who's actually negotiating.
Right, because we don't negotiate in that sense.
Or supervise, either.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it.
Don't negotiate, no. Participate substantially in the negotiation.
I don't have a problem
for the awards, but you do.
Yeah.
The award by
it's been like 2 years.
But it's also not substantial. I mean, we're not the last word anyway.
Well, we are.
I mean, sorry.
I don't think that much, no.
We're the last word, though.
I think I personally would not see this as a deterrent for our body anyway. It would be more challenging for sure with other bodies, like TPZ, for example. There aren't that many of them, and I could see but that's not a contract negotiation or an award per se, obliging the town.
But it looks worse, or it's more, the smaller the board maybe. What'd you say, Len? Sorry.
I was going to say, this seems like directed to the negotiation by the executive branch of a contract with like a union. Right, is the classic example.
But this is not staff. This is only electeds.
Right.
No former public official. That's the fun.
Yeah.
Can we move on? Is anyone have any changes to this they want to suggest? All right. So then we're at 21.7. Reporting.
I like that this is in here now. That. You have to have an ethics reporting outline.
But to Jeff's earlier point, is there somewhere else that there is? The Ethics Commission and Human Resources have their own policies for how to address and potentially punish, for lack of a better word, people who violate our code of ethics, right?
Well, in the employee code, ethics policy, I think there is. It'll say it could be, in some cases it could be termination, and up to termination. In some cases it's less. And ethics, they have their own ways of.
Jeff,
Is that what you mean, like what the sentence is, kind of?
Yeah, and it would include, so what happens to, like, I get what would happen to a staff person, it's pretty straightforward in most places, but like, what happens to the public official? What happens to the former public official? What happens to the contractor?
Well, you said earlier they can be, there was something like publicly shamed or something in here.
It does say something up here. So if you're elected, you can't be kicked out under state law.
Yeah, there were implications here. Where is it? There's an employment or something. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Civil penalty.
What was that?
It's 21-3 on page 3.
21, that's okay.
Your restitution.
Could be
reprimanded,
suspended, removed, or dismissed from office. No, again, this is decided by the Ethics Commission. They vote on it, right?
Right.
5 to, I don't know how many people on ethics. So 3-2 vote, and they say you're suspended from the RTM.
And it says any person.
Yeah.
So this applies to the paid consultants too.
Does it say suspended though? I don't think it says.
It does say suspended. Reprimanded, suspended, removed. You can be removed. Or dismissed from office or position as the cause may be, and be punished by public censure and reprimand. A civil penalty payable to town of Fairfield not more than $250 per violation, and restitution payable to town of Fairfield of any pecuniary benefits received because of the violations. I mean, those are pretty stiff penalties.
Yeah.
But it's so. One of my questions was: is there like an appeals process? Is there?
No, actually, there isn't. I learned that during doing the charter review. There isn't an appeals.
Can we put one in here?
That would have to go into the charter.
Really?
And I think I don't know, I can't remember if it was a law that you can't have it, or I think it's
Really?
I can't remember.
That does seem kind of unfair.
I know it does.
Just because the penalties are pretty severe.
Can be.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah.
And if you're voted, not in your favor 3-2 because 2 people on the commission don't like you or whatever. I mean, it's like, where's the appeal process?
Yeah, or it's just a question of interpretation.
Totally.
In terms of,
Yep, so let's add that to the list.
Yeah, I'll ask that.
If we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on 21-7 at the end there, transmitted to human resources. Would that be appropriate for this? The non-staff ethics rules wouldn't go to human resources?
They all go, no matter what, anyone who calls, it goes to those 2 places. So HR would just ignore it or make sure the Ethics Commission had it or something. That's like it's an automatic thing, isn't that right? When the hotline, the Ethics hotline, just always goes to HR and Ethics Commission.
It used to not go to the Ethics Commission. It does now. Yeah.
So if it's like an elected person who HR isn't in charge of, it's still going to go to HR, but they just won't act on it.
Right.
Yeah.
HR will not want to act on elected.
Yeah.
So do we need to say it here? Like why would this prescribe that it goes to HR?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's fair to I mean, it warns people it goes to HR, but
I see.
It automatically goes to both.
Yeah.
And they haven't created a system that
okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And the Ethics Commission handles the consultants, not HR.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so just back to that one question about due process and appeal. If it's not in the charter, would it have to say that you can't do that in the charter in order for us not to be able to put it in? Like, wouldn't we be able to add that? Even if the charter doesn't have it, maybe there's a lot of things the charter doesn't necessarily have.
But also the question is who hears the appeal.
Right? I know, and just think how, just is so like, it's like done, that's it, next. Hold on, but,
I guess one question I have to Jeff's point is whether you would have remedy in court if there wasn't one provided. That being said, there's a lot of provisions in our, ordinances and charter that say somebody who's aggrieved by this decision of whatever board or commission can appeal to Superior Court.
Yeah. On the Fair Housing, Fair Rent Commission.
Yeah, we did that with that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's state law because we specifically asked, can they go to court and appeal, and we're told no. But I don't know why that is.
I know. So why would be one question. The other thing is, if they can't go to court, can they is there an appeal process or a due process within town where someone can defend themselves or reply?
Is there already an appeal process on the ethics commission?
No.
In other words, there's nothing in place. So this would add something.
Well, why could, that's the question, is like, is this whole ordinance supplemental, or it's just sort of prescriptive based on what's in the charter? Because if it's supplemental, then we really can do anything.
Well, you can't violate the charter.
I mean, without violating the charter.
Yeah, and you can't violate state law.
Right.
But it's supplemental.
Yeah, it's supplemental. So unless this is a violation of state law or the charter, we don't have to.
I think it must be because I think we were talking about, like, we kind of wanted to put in a way to appeal if that was available.
And maybe it's not to the court. But maybe it's to the court of Fairfield.
Yeah.
All right, can we move on? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, bodies here in Fairfield to appeal. I mean, just to have no way to state your case is pretty amazing.
All right, so 21.8 is distribution of the ordinance. I don't know if anyone has anything on that.
No.
Newly elected will get it as well. Annual advisement.
That's the thing.
2110, that's.
So that'll replace the current ordinance.
That's the part that means that this is a replacement of the current ordinance. Right. Okay, so then this is actually a revision.
But there's no ordinance in place.
Yeah, there is an ordinance that just says 2110. There's a town code provision that just says.
So there's a town code provision.
Yeah, and so this whole thing will replace that. Well,
ordinances become town code.
Yeah, town code is ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, existing contracts, request for proposals, effective date. Anything else anyone wants to share back?
Yes, I was going to suggest one other thing. Any kind of whistleblower protection, like someone calls the hotline and makes a mention of someone doing something. Is there anything to prevent retaliation? Is there some kind of clause that
we could add something? What it's different when they're non-employees. What would the retaliation be?
If they're non-employees, if they're public officials, I mean, it could be the same as if you're a town employee. I mean, like any type of retaliation or whistleblower, like threats or
you get bumped off of LNA or bumped onto LNA.
Yeah. You bumped onto LNA. No, I don't want to. Yeah, but I mean, I think that retaliation could be whether it's public official or employee or whatever. It's just any type of retaliation.
Yeah. Does the Ethics Commission ordinance or whatever explain how you file a claim aside from the hotline?
And that was kind of my other question too, like procedure and process.
Does it say in the Ethics Commission one?
In the charter, it would be in the charter.
It'd be in the charter. I'm just looking at excerpts of the charter that were on the website. Complaints, the Ethics Commission shall no later than 10 days after the termination of its probable cause investigation notify the complaining person and the person against whom the complaint was made that the investigation has been terminated in the results. That's one of them. Second one says here, in the absence of extraordinary circumstances, the hearing after a finding of probable cause should be held within 90 days of the initiation of the investigation. The Ethics Commission shall, not later than 30 days after the close of the hearing, publish its findings together with a memorandum of its reasons. Any recommendation for disciplinary action shall be contained in the findings. So I guess that's enough process.
No, it doesn't explain how to file a claim.
It doesn't explain file. Wait, there is something. No, there was something. I mean, on our website, there's Town of Fairfield Ethics Hotline, Procedure Ethics Commission's downloaded.
So you have to use the hotline.
I think.
No, you could also, right? Go ahead, Lynn.
It looks like B2 says upon sworn complaint or the vote of 3 members, investigate the actions and conduct of elected appointed officials, members and employees of the town to determine whether there is probable cause that a violation has occurred.
Where is that, Lenny?
Charter?
This is the Ethics Commission section of the charter, right? And B2, powers and duties.
What's the number in the charter?
The article, you mean?
Or the section?
Yeah.
10.15?
Oh, 10.15?
Okay, so a sworn statement.
All right, I have it here. And it's under B, you said?
Yeah, it looks like 10.15B2.
Any person accused of violence shall have the right to appear and be heard. Okay. So they can be heard. So there is some due process on, I guess.
Oh, yeah, right.
To appear and be heard by the Ethics Commission and to offer any information which may tend to show there is no probable cause to believe the person who violated any provision of the standards of conduct of the Code of Ethics. Okay. So there is a process for that.
Oh, yeah, that's...
We'll wrap this conversation up.
Yeah.
It's getting late here, people.
Yeah.
Is there anything else people want to share back with the drafters, with sponsors?
Do you want to maybe, Karen, go through the larger questions that we asked that are going to require more than just like pronoun tweaking and renumbering?
What do you mean go through, talk
Like
further,
just make sure, because there are things that are outstanding. We moved from the discussion because you are going to come back to LNA in July. So just to be sure that.
But you were taking notes, I think, right?
Yeah. So I think it was.
So the appeals process was a question.
Yeah.
Defining matter was a question.
Defining public official or making sure RTM is included.
Potential whistleblower retaliation clause or something.
Protection and.
Protection.
Gender neutral language.
Appeals process.
Yeah. Define conflict of interest, maybe. Whistleblower. I don't know who. That's how I started to write that.
Yeah, I mean.
Because anyone could be reporting them. It could be your neighbor. I think it's different from when you have an employment situation.
That is true.
It is probably, yeah.
Yeah.
In which case there's probably.
But could that also impact a public official? I mean, you're still kind of in a company of sorts.
Yeah. Okay.
Something to think about.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so we're not going to take any action on this item then? Okay. Can we go to the main agenda items? Can I have a motion on 4, which is the donation of land?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Karen, are you able to take notes or are you in the midst?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got the motion in the second there?
Yeah.
Any discussion on this item?
No, not for me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving on to 5, which is the Neighborhood Assistance Act.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yep.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oh, Len does.
Okay. Any discussion on this item?
Nope.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Wait, just.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
You know me with
Lenny,
typing.
did you vote
You
yes?
know me with flying through the agenda.
I didn't hear him.
Did you vote yes, Len?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right, item 6 is a CDBG.
I'll make a motion to.
CDBG. Not CDBG.
Grew up in New York.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Michelle makes the motion. Do I have a second? All right, Jeff seconds. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Moving on to 7. This is the police grant. Can I
I'll
have
make
a
a motion.
In a second. Jeff, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Number 8 is the
Trail.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's everybody. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion
I
to
tried.
adjourn.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I tried to get us out by 10, but I didn't quite make it.
Well, we did a good job. We had the effort.
Yeah.
How could you be so late?
There was enough.
Do you want that?
Great meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lenny.
Thanks, Len.
Way below your.
Good night.